Welcome back to another installment here on the Special Educator Series. I'm your host, Tom Hankins, instructor, tutor, consultant, and musician. This entry is going to be about personal safety, in particular, a product, the Byrna LE Launcher, that I acquired a couple of years ago. Before we get going, I do want to get over some business real quick. Any postings that I do with regard to any type of weapon, firearm, gun or not, makes no difference. I always want to say, if you look at the bottom right of the screen, safety first. Safety first in everything. I'm not going to go into a lecture about all the rules around safety, but just something I want to deal with. Our credentials, if you will. I am a former competitive shooter. I am an NRA licensed instructor, certified instructor in basic pistol marksmanship. And I do have Massachusetts State Police certification in basic firearm safety instruction. They kind of go hand in hand. I do have limited military training in the United States Marine Corps as an officer's candidate back in the mid-'80s. I did not see any active duty. Getting that out of the way. Over at the top left of the screen, and for those of you who can't read, are my disciplines that I've been involved in ever since childhood. I've touched on all of these, and I will get things out as time allows. I have already posted a few videos for release on the week of February 17th. I started with one about my journey through gun culture, and I had alternative videos, one on archery and one on air guns in general, that I posted as alternatives for people that were concerned or had concerns about themselves or someone else in their lives about handling real firearms. I wanted to post this, and this is going to be released on Friday of this week. This is about something self-defense related. And before I get too far into this, yes, I've been around guns all my life, but I do believe there are options to having and carrying and using a firearm for self-defense. There are pepper sprays, there are tasers, there are, melee weapons, there are sirens that make loud noises and things like that. But where I live, in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, firearms have no real protection, in the sense that there's no castle doctrine, there is no right to self-defense. In fact, we have an obligation to retreat. We are in a very anti Second Amendment kind of environment here in the Commonwealth. So if you are going to, as a matter of personal defense, or even home defense, have a firearm, be aware that the burden of proof is going to pretty much be on you. You discharge that firearm in self-defense, you are going to be immediately addressed ahead of time as a potential criminal. Don't mean to be negative. So I've looked for options, and one of them is the Byrna LE. I'm going to go over this device here in a moment. Beforehand, I do want to get to our business, how to reach out to us and where you can find us on social media. Our website is tsegrp.org. Email is host@tsegrp.org. You will find on Facebook, X, Rumble, and Medium.com. We are at TSEGRP. YouTube at TSEDGRP. Instagram and LinkedIn, The Special Educator. Just be aware that's the best place to reach out to us. And I'm going to turn the music off completely when we get started here. All right. The Byrna LE is a product that I found while searching for an option to something that would be, less than lethal. I had looked at other things. I'm not going to get too far into them, but I'd looked at sprays and I'd looked at tasers and all sorts of other things as an option to carrying a firearm on my person for any type of potential self-defense situation. So this came up. This is actually a picture of the Byrna LE. This is actually my account through Byrna that I ordered it on. I do want to let you know the attractive parts about this, and you can see my little cursor here. There are no background checks, although that's not required. I have full background check passability. It's legal in 50 states. There are little caveats. Not all cities, towns, and counties allow them. In particular, some places in and around New York City. Generally, it will ship directly to your door. Be aware there are some items on this website that cannot be shipped to certain states, such as Massachusetts. I'll go over that a little bit later. And it's got very good reviews. As far as sales, they were originally dealing with law enforcement and military type deployment. They tested their product and it has been released to the public. Most of you, I'm sure, have seen, heard, or otherwise are aware of these fairly popular pundits, most of them on the conservative side of the political spectrum, let's be honest, touting the Byrna devices. I do want to go through some things that Byrna offers besides what I'm going to show you. So, as far as the pistols are concerned, I happen to purchase the LE, which is pictured on the left. Comes in both orange and black. And then there's the SD, which is orange, black, and also tan or FDE or coyote, whatever it is. The LE generally designates a law enforcement grade item, and SD is for self-defense. The big difference you can see is this attachment at the front of the LE that is not present on the SD. That provides extra length, extra weight, and extra CO2 capacity. Just so you know, the CO2 cartridge goes underneath the barrel. Some of the differences you need to be aware of course, are price. $100 spread there. I do want to point out the difference in energy is significant. So you're dealing with almost another 50% of power, joules, that can be delivered to the target. And of course, that is because of the average velocity being higher, as you can see. Now, as far as the magazines, these days, both of these items will ship with 2 5-round magazines. And as far as the CO2 canisters that go in there, 12-gram CO2 cartridges are used in the LE, 8-gram is used in the SD. And you can see that even with more CO2, you get fewer shots. That is what gives you the extra power. All right. 12-gram CO2 cartridges are the most common size. That is another consideration to make. 8-gram CO2 cartridges are a little bit harder to find. And of course, I'd mention the extra size and weight of the LE because the extension, and that extension is, of course, again, to add the extra capacity of the 12-gram CO2 cartridge compared to the 8. Generally speaking, their grips have a relatively full size, and I find them to be very practical. Before I get into that, let's cover some of the rifles that they have. Now, they do have less lethal rifles. You find a similar situation, difference in price, difference in energy, difference in velocity, difference in capacity, effective range is a little different, and of course, much greater CO2 size. Now, if you want to stick with the 12-gram CO2 cartridges, the less expensive TCR is easily used. If you're going to step up to the 88-gram, which is more of a paintball type of a cylinder, then the Mission 4 is something you can look at. Right now, I have no consideration for them. I do want to talk about some of their other stuff. I do want to get into the Duo. This is a combination miniature pepper spray with an alarm device in one, so you get 2 defensive capabilities in one device. You do have defensive sprays. You have large and small, 1/2 ounce and 2 ounce, and of course, differences in range, obviously capacity, and how long a continuous spray. Here are state restrictions that you need to be aware of. I live in one of the states. Okay, you cannot use these in certain states: New York, Alaska, Hawaii, Wisconsin, Washington, D.C., Michigan, Massachusetts, and with the larger canister, New Jersey. Again, just because these are offered does not mean that you can order them and have them shipped to your door. That safety alarm that I showed on the Duo is available just separately as the Banshee, and this doesn't come with a pepper spray, but this is another option as well. For areas that are restricted, this is an option. I do want to talk about other options. They have backpack armor, and they have body armor. And these are items that are not state restricted and very practical. I find these to be a very exciting and promising product for them that has nothing to do with what I'm going to demonstrate with the LE. I do also want to go over some accessories. In this particular case, they're by item. I'm just going to show you what is available for what I have acquired, and you'll find they're similar. You can get CO2 cartridges. There's a concealed carry sling bag. Be aware that body armor is not present in this. This is just a carry bag. A couple of different types of holsters, 7-round magazines, 5-round magazines, magazine protectors, and different types of ammo and CO2 cartridge refill cases, a couple of different types of targets. I do want to discuss this. Be aware, you have to use these targets if you decide to buy one, these traps, if you will, at a sufficient range that you don't damage them with the projectiles. At close range, you will damage these, either one of these, very, very quickly. So, again, just be aware of that issue. You have wipes to get the chemical residue off. You have an oiling and maintenance kit. You obviously have a spare cap for your CO2 storage area. And then you have lasers, lights, and quick start guides. Let's go over the ammo that these use. These use 68 caliber, 0.68 inch ball style ammo. They're fired with CO2 cartridges. They're training ammo, and then there's self-defense ammo. I'm going to start in the middle. These two in the middle, training and ammo, these are solid nylon balls. They are hard, they are very lightweight, and they hurt. They are strictly a kinetic item. Once you get to a dual color, be the gray and white in the training, red and white or blue and white in the self-defense ammo, these are powder-filled projectiles. They have two halves of a case which are sealed together. In the training ammo, this is just an inert powder. When you have the red and gray, that has a capsaicin, oleoresin, basically a pepper chemical added to it. And the blue is a dual chemical round. It has both a pepper component and a tear powder component, just an irritant. The green item on the end is a bit of an enigma. It is a compressed powder coated in green coloring and is really intended to be fully biodegradable, no plastic residue. These are great training rounds, but if one does break inside of your launcher, it will be a bit of a mess, but they work as well. Different purposes are shown here, and a couple of different reviews. I also want to talk about another type of ammo, and this is a side thought. This is 12 gauge kinetic ammo. I have purchased some of this, and I will be doing a review and opinion piece on this. I'm just trying to find a defensive type ammo shotgun. 12 gauge pump action defensive one. The only shotguns I have are really for clays and competition use, so not terribly practical or fair to review that with these. When I get that done, I'll reach out to you. Be aware, these are also state restricted. Although they are not a firearm load of any sort, they don't have any gunpowder to them, they do have a primer, and they are state restricted, so you can't get these in Massachusetts, at least not sent to you. So here are the state restrictions: California, New York, Washington, D.C., Connecticut, Illinois, Massachusetts, New Jersey, Puerto Rico, Hawaii, and Alaska. A lot of the same states were listed as with the other items. So an inside look, split open, you have a primer, you have a little cup or a wad, if you will. You have basically a finned tail here. It's inside basically a plastic shell, a sabot of sorts, and the kinetic round is actually a 61 caliber, I believe. It's slightly smaller, but same idea as a kinetic round for the pistols. So let's go through the pistol that I acquired. It comes in a nylon semi-rigid case. It is zipper enclosed. I already have it unzipped. When you open it up, here's what comes inside. You have the launcher itself with a magazine in it. You have a spare magazine. This is just an emblem, the Byrna logo. You'll have 3 different types of ammunition. Each of these tubes has 5 rounds in it, and you'll have 2 CO2 cartridges. I acquired the kit that had the 5 hard kinetic rounds, the 5 green colored eco-kinetic rounds, and the defensive pepper projectiles, the red and gray ones. I also, in addition to that, acquired another sleeve of the max projectiles and a bulk container of 95 of the kinetic nylon projectiles, and as well a cleaning kit that includes a brush and an oiler. And I'll pull this out just to show you. So I have them here. Comes with a needle applicator, and this piece here vaguely resembles a CO2 cartridge. So what you actually do to apply the oil is you will insert this into the launcher. This will take the place of the CO2 cartridge. You'll dispense a little bit of oil into the trigger and feeding and launch mechanism, and that is all you'll need every so often. Now, if you acquire your CO2 cartridges, well, I put this back. If you acquire your CO2 cartridges from Byrna, one of those cartridges will have oil preloaded in it, which is fine, but the kit, really, it's about the brush. Picking this up, the brush is designed to fit inside the launch tube, and it's very simple and easy to use. All right, let's go through the launcher itself. The launcher itself has the ergonomics of a typical pistol, whether it be air-powered or a firearm. The key features to it that you want to note is it does have a manual safety, fire and safe. It does have a long pull trigger. It does have a standard magazine well with the magazine release button. Push that in, magazine comes out. I'll leave that out for now because I'm going to demonstrate it in a moment. There is no slide. This piece does not move back and forth. That makes it completely different from a firearm. It does have an accessory rail, typical accessory rail, any type of lights, lasers, whatever you want to put on there. And the sighting system is not fiber optic or tritium. It is a 3-point white dot. You have 2 large dots in the back. You have a single smaller white dot up front. This little piece here, if you want to see it, is actually a loading gate, and it has a notch cut out, so when it is raised, it does not interrupt with your sight picture at all. All right, let me demonstrate how to load the CO2 cartridge. At the tail end, or the base of your magazine, there's a little tool there. Resembles an Allen wrench of sorts. That goes in the very end of the lower chamber. Fits in counterclockwise. Enough. Get your fingers on it. Pull the cap off. Now the cap, you want to take a look, is not the item that seals it. There's no gasket to this. There's a flat surface, and there's a curved surface. The curved surface mates up with the base of the CO2 cartridge. Don't lose these, but you can also buy spare ones. To put the CO2 cartridge into the launcher, lower tube, tip of the CO2 cartridge goes in first. Take the cap, flat side out. Okay, tool in to the end of the cap till it stops, and I give it about not quite a quarter twist. Snug it up, but it doesn't have to be too tight. Okay, so use this. The CO2 cartridge now sits under the launch tube itself and stops right about there is my estimation. What makes the Byrna launcher unique is that it uses pull pierce technology. When you pull the trigger back, it will pierce the CO2 canister, and then depending on the setting you have for the safety, it will do one of two things. With the safety on, you pull the trigger, it'll pre-charge the launch mechanism to full pressure, but it will not fire a round. Okay? It will only fire a round when the safety is off or in the fire mode. So, once you pre-charge it completely, you put it on fire, the next pull of the trigger will launch a round at full velocity. Okay? There's the trick. Full velocity is only when you pre-charge with the safety on first, pull the trigger, charge, and fire. It has a secondary mode. If you don't have time to wait, you can turn the safety to the fire mode, and when you pull the trigger, it will both pull, it'll pierce the cylinder and fire a round, but that fired round without a full pre-charge will not be at full velocity. Repeat, not be at full velocity. There are plenty of videos out there about people testing them and giving you velocity readings. That's perfectly fine. That's not what this video is about. So, leaving the safety on, there's a CO2 cartridge in there. I am not going to be pulling the trigger during this demonstration at this point. I will say this, the trigger itself has a very flat face, has a little curve or bevel on the bottom, which is really good. It is comfortable. It is long distance of pull, and it also is a fairly stout trigger pressure. So the chances of an accidental discharge are slim to almost none. I never say never, of course. So let me show you the different types of ammo and the different types of magazines. So, I am going to start with the kinetic round. This is a solid nylon ball. They average about 3 grams, so they're not very heavy, but they bounce off of a hard surface like you would not believe. Be very careful if you're shooting these in a confined space for practice. The pepper round, the red and gray round, again, same size, and it's just a split down the middle. These are meant to break open when they impact a surface. You don't have to hit somebody in a vital area. Just hit them in the torso and the chest. You can even pop these on the ground in front of them, and there will be enough of an irritant that it will work, or I said it should work. The max round, again, is the blue and gray. Now this has both pepper and a tear gas, well, they call it tear gas, but it's an irritant, a natural irritant, and very effective as well. How you load a magazine, I want to go over very quickly. I purchased my launcher quite some time ago, and I'm going to show you this. Before I was doing these videos of any sort, I had plenty of time to practice, and I noticed that I only had 7-round magazines shipped to me when I ordered this. Well, a couple of my rounds, chemical rounds, broke while sitting in the magazine, just sitting around. So I emailed Byrna, got an exchange from this Samantha D. Very nice, by the way, full 5 stars, top marks for everything. Notified me of something that I didn't know. Since I had purchased mine before January of 24, turns out that they had found out the 7-round magazine was problematic with chemical rounds, causing the exact problem I had witnessed. So there are a couple of video links, ammo loading options, and 7-round magazine findings. I just want to let you know, here is where the information is helpful. If you are going to load chemical rounds, they're only going to be functional in the 5-round magazine, not the 7-round. The difference is this, and I'll show them next to you. The 5-round magazine is in my hand here. It has the red flat top plunger. The 7-round magazine has a black, I can't quite see it that well, but it's an angled follower here. So that's what's causing the problem, is the way that this is designed. So for chemical rounds, the second thing you want to be aware of is you want to have your top round be a kinetic round. So here's what I'm going to do. Kinetic round, chem round, max. I'll put the chem round pepper, and then the top round will be another kinetic round. So kinetic round at the top. After that, you can put chemical rounds of any order you want. I'm putting a kinetic round at the bottom just to buffer. Magazine goes in just like it would on a regular gun, firearm or otherwise. Push it all the way in. It clicks locked, and you are ready to fire in the fire mode with a pull, pierce, and launch, or pre-charge, pull, fully charge the device, safe, second pull, launches at full velocity. Nothing else you have to do. Remove the magazine. I want to show you something. Just like that, comes right out. But you will notice, tough to see in there. Let's see if I can get this for you. There. 1 round will be in the launch chamber, if you can see it in there. It doesn't stay in there very tight. But to get this out, simply want to just tap it, and it will pop right out. To get the rest of the rounds out of the magazine, there's a side loading gate. This side loading gate is spring loaded. What I'll do is I'll push this down, and they'll all pop out. Be very careful not to do this over a hard surface. If one of those chemical rounds should break, you will be clearing the area rather quickly. Just saying that. So, 7-round magazines are only supposed to be used with kinetic projectiles. Very simple, same thing. They just load in, even though the top follower is a little bit different shape. They just pop right in there. And same thing. Put this all back together here. All right, so before I zip this up, once again, you're going to get 2 magazines. They're going to ship with 5-round magazines these days. You don't have to worry about broken chemical rounds. Just stick with the 5-round mags. My 7 rounds, I can use those for training all day long because they will take the kinetic projectiles. Last point before I get going. Once again, I bought the launcher kit with the kinetic, the eco-kinetic, and the pepper. You can get there a couple different configurations. I also bought the max, so all 4 types of projectiles were there, and 95 round of plastic or just nylon projectiles for practice purposes. Ended up getting the cleaning maintenance kit with oil and brush. And here's what I want to show you before I log off here. This is one of the 7-round magazines that I found. And the couple of rounds had cracked, chemical rounds. It is a mess. So I'm going to wait till the weather gets better and I can go outside and rinse all this off with the garden hose and get rid of it in a safe and effective manner. It's not going to irritate everybody walking outside. But essentially, any powder in there, you can clean off with water. And then just make sure you maintain it, get the water out, dry it out thoroughly, and you'll be fine. All right. Last thing before I sign off. This is just advice. I'm here for you as a resource. If you have any questions, or if you live relatively close to where I do, in the very northeastern portion of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, I'm more than happy to get together on a one-on-one or a limited group basis and demonstrate all these things in person so that you get a better idea about it. I will at some point, but not now, be offering private and semi-private lessons for basic pistol marksmanship and other disciplines as time allows. So right now, I'm only concerned about putting material out there for you. Please use the email, host@tsegrp.org, for any meaningful inquiries. Again, host@tsegrp.org, and the website, tsegrp.org. The other social media sites that are down there, at TSEGRP on almost everything that is social media, YouTube, TSED, GRP, Instagram and LinkedIn, maybe not quite as effective for content posting, but the special educator. Once again, I'm Tom Hankins, instructor, tutor, consultant, and musician, and I hope to find you safe in the coming weeks, and I look forward to the next post. Take care, everybody.